Hello, my name is Victoria Melanson. I am presenting my third assignment for class JWI 505 titled PetSmart Conservation. I will be presenting this as if I am trying to convince PetSmart executives to start a subdivision of their company to encompass all efforts regarding conservation. All the bearded dragons are dead! Do I have your attention? These are easy to find posts on the internet. Media representation matters. And I'm going to tell you in the following slides how PetSmart can turn this bad press into good press. More importantly, how PetSmart can turn this into a return on investment. First, let me give you a little history on PetSmart's growth. History of PetSmart Inc. From 1987 to 1989, revenues rose from 1 to 16 million due to inclusion of manufacturers selling directly to the store and pet welfare groups hosting in-store demonstrations. We closed out the 80s with 16 million. And then PetSmart bought All Paws, an adoption app website to connect with consumers and resonate with the way they live and what they value, to formulate legitimacy and authenticity for their products and create a relationship with the consumer. This was ultimately dissolved into what we now know as PetSmart Charities in 1994. PetSmart also acquired other pet stores. They closed out the 90s with 2.1 billion in sales. Currently a 7 billion net worth company in a $100 billion market. And then in 2021, PetSmart started undertaking several activities to ascertain the protection of environment. It is only a matter of time that these activities gain momentum and provide a base for concrete actions. We will talk more about this later. I believe that we can go farther and further with a conservation initiative. Now, if you Google PetSmart conservation, the press around adoptions is phenomenal. However, World Animal Protection has campaigned twice against PetSmart. There's a link by WAP about PetSmart selling animals on the IUCN Red List. Crested geckos, bala sharks, tortoises are all listed as vulnerable, while ball pythons are listed as nearly threatened. Haplochromous cichlids are listed as critically endangered. However, beardies are least concern. So what does this mean for what we saw at the beginning? We could use this to kickstart the PetSmart conservation campaign. It can start with an educational program of overhauling the actual animals in the threatened categories and being transparent about breeding practices to show PetSmart cares about the habitats these creatures come from and the animals themselves. So let's get into the nature of it. First, where the money is. New Nature Economy Report Series reports that $44 trillion of economic value generation, over half the world's GDP, is moderately or highly dependent on nature. A new nature economy could generate up to 10.1 trillion in animal business value. Second, how the money is turned into a service. The Kadumba Group, they developed PES, Payment for Ecosystem Services. This is a voluntary and conditional agreement between at least one seller and one buyer over a well-defined environmental service. The most common example of this is the International Carbon Market for Carbon Dioxide Emission Reduction Certificates, commonly called the carbon market, which allows industrialized countries to trade carbon credits in order to meet their commitments at the lowest possible cost. Third, the industry that the money operates in, biodiversity and habitat markets. These incentives may be driven by regulation or other forces such as consumer preferences for green products. We already have those consumers with those preferences. Last but not least, how PetSmart profits off the industry. Conservation relies on profitability. You protect nature, you protect pet food, and that protects the product production and gets goods to retailers and consumers more reliably. And then we get the money. Who are the leaders? First and foremost, the Walt Disney Company. They own Disney Conservation Fund. Nestle owns Sweet Earth, which is a sustainable foods company. Oracle, co-founded by Larry Ellison, is a computer technology company which plans to establish the Conservation Center for Wildlife Care. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they donated 10 million to Conservation International, one of the world's biggest conservation groups. West Paw has an eco-fiber environmental innovation, which is made from recycled plastics. This has kept 12.6 million plastic bottles from landfills. They also designed Zogoflex, which can be recycled indefinitely to make new toys. And then Unilever, which purchased 7th generation for $7 million. This supports community action with at least half of the foundation's funds, donated to Indigenous-led organizations. The leaders continued. You can see here that I have included companies from one end of the spectrum, Disney, and from the other end of the spectrum, Westpaw, 130 billion net worth to 5.7 million. You don't have to be a huge piece of the industry to start profiting off of the conservation experience. How do we get started? We already have. With products like Earth-rated, green, only natural pet, and initiatives like recycling printer cartridges, reducing plastic bags, and so forth, means that the PetSmart sustainability has already kickstarted. If PetSmart protects these initiatives and builds on public expectations by engaging in conservation, the ROI could be substantial. Not to mention previously, because I saved the best for last, a company that we can partner with is Giant Tiger, a $2 billion company compared to our $7 billion, recently paired with Toronto Zoo after the birth of their Amir tiger. Let's ask them how they did it. Let's connect. An HR manager and a category manager have connections with our Southern Ontario district manager. And an associate VP in real estate from Giant Tiger has connections with our Canadian regional manager. After connecting, PetSmart would benefit from acquiring or partnering with a company already engaging in PES to streamline the process and keep up with the market. What it would look like. These are some mock-ups done by a graphic designer named Zan to ignite your imagination. Starting in Canada would turn an easy stone over since public opinion of conservation is already high. Let's go further and farther by harnessing what we already know about PetSmart consumers. They want the PetSmart that started it all. The PetSmart that believes people are better with animals. What better way to do that than to conserve their natural habitats? I don't know why my references, oh, there we go. Perfect. And thank you very much.